Hello, and welcome to this breakout session about not your ordinary pallet rack, how to store whiskey casks. My name is Joseph, and I'm here to present this topic for you today. And as you probably can hear, English is not my first language, it's my second, and therefore you have to bear with me if I don't find the words all the time or stumble upon some sentences. So the agenda for today is storing whiskey, the general how to store whiskey today in most places. Whiskey is an old liquor. It's been around for centuries. So the storing abilities have varies for a long time. So I'm going to go through that briefly. And then the how the solution looks today, the more modern type, how to store whiskey, and the benefits with that. Then on to quoting process of whiskey racking, what the struggles have been and the obstacles of doing that efficiently, and how CT has been really helping us along with doing that and cutting some time, doing that more efficiently, and even removing some of the mistakes that you can make sometimes, the human input. On to customization. We work with an agent today, and we are trying to make CT a very good tool for them to work with, customizing CT for their needs to really cut some time and also removing removing some of the human input put into those projects. And finally, the projects for this fall. We are currently working on a few things to make it even better, besides the customization projects that we have. Yeah, to make CT an even better tool for us to work with. A little about me. I'm a 3D engineer at AJ Products. AJ Products is a fairly large company in Sweden, and we sell everything from pallet racking to the smallest of office furniture and office accessories. Um, I have a master's in mechanical engineering, and before AJ, I worked 10 years as a design engineer. We have been working at AJ with CT Designer for approximately 7 years now. We have around 19,500 articles spread over 18 categories in CT. So we have a lot of products. And you can find AJ in 20 countries, and we are 1,100 employees approximately, with main headquarters in Halmstad, Sweden. Whiskey have been produced for a long, long time. I believe that the first whiskey was produced in the 15th century, and the need for storing whiskey casks has been around for centuries. Although still some distilleries use this method to store whiskey casks, it's quite inefficient, and it all comes down to the maturation process. Since the whiskey need to come in contact with the wood to get those flavors, you need to rotate the barrels every now and then to get the whiskey to come in contact with as much wood as possible, since those flavors in the wood changes the character of the whiskey. And if you need to get to those casks at the end of this pile or this stack, you have to move everything down, rotate that barrel, and then move everything up again. And this, of course, comes with a high risk since this is done manually and done by people working at the distillery. And you're also at risk every time you move a barrel up and down, since the biggest casks can weigh up to 600 kilos and can hold up to 500 liters of whiskey. Also, the airflow between these barrels aren't as efficient as it could be, and the airflow and the temperature in the warehouse really affects those flavors and can really change how the final product comes out. Another drawback of this solution is that the barrels at the bottom of the stack can have a high risk of leakage since the pressure from the top layers um, pushes down on the barrel, which can cause the barrel to start leaking. Um, as you can see in the image, you can see different sizes of casks. In CET and in our whiskey solution, we have focused on three different barrel sizes: the American barrel, the hogshead, and the largest one, which is the butt, which you also can see in the picture. Most of the barrels here in this picture are butts. Another thing about whiskey racking is it differs a lot from ordinary pallet racking. Um, Ordinary pallet racking, you can buy or purchase a solution which can hold up to, let's say, 2,000 pallets, and you circulate what goes into that pallet rack, and you can use the same pallet rack over and over again. But the difference between casks and whiskey maturation and storage material handling is that since the whiskey is in the rack for a very, very long time, I mean, between 10 to a lot of years, you need to expand your warehouses over and over again. So, um, so while you can use your pallet tracking solution over and over again, so you always have to add pallet tracking or whiskey racking to the racking that you already have, which is good for us as a producer. Um, and so storing whiskey in particular differs a lot from the ordinary material handling that we see. If you buy a pallet racking solution, for example, you can use that racking over and over again, and you often circulate what goes into that pallet racking. With whiskey, you store the product for a very, very long time, between 8 to 80 years, as you can see in this very special Macallan that was released in 2021. And by that time, it was 81 years old. So it was produced in 1940. And that differs a lot from ordinary pallet tracking because you still have to add onto the warehouses that you already have, which is, of course, good for us as a producer because they have to buy racking over and over again. So that's the difference between pallet racking and whisk racking when it comes to the volume that you need. So with this kind of racking, you can add fire extinguishers in strategic places to prevent fire from happening or from it to spread. Compared to the previous way to store whiskey casks, we have this modern style, more like pallet racking, a way to store whiskey casks. And the good thing and the benefits with using this solution is that you have access to all casks. In between each row, there is a maintenance aisle, and at the back of the racking, there is also a back aisle connecting all the maintenance aisle together. And also, there are stairs in between, so you can access each level when you want. Um, this gives you the option to access each barrel individually. It's good for handling, rotation, inspecting the barrels, but also if you want to sample a barrel and check the process of the maturation. You can also see that the airflow is much better. And since you more easily can move the barrels around, it's easier to control the temperature in which area you store the barrel and what the temperature will be in that area. These factors all affect, as I said before, affect the taste, the character of the whiskey, and the overall process. And you can use these different factors to tailor the maturation. So you can get different types of whiskey combined with different types of barrels and different kinds of wood in the barrel to really change the end product. If you look at the beginning of each row, you can see two small paddles. They are called front gates, and they work in a way that you fold them in the direction of the racking. So when you load a new barrel or barrels, they fold when you put the barrel on top of them or push them forward, and they prevent the barrels from rolling out again. So as for human safety, you really get control of the barrel, and since they are heavy, um, it prevents injuries and accidents to happen. So when you want to extract a barrel, you just fold them down manually. That is done with the forklifts. So you push them down, and you just extract the barrel and lift it down. And once you extracted one barrel, the front gate goes up again and preventing the second barrel from rolling out. So this is excellent for human safety and the working conditions. Also, when you have a racking like this, you can easily put in fire extinguishers. Whiskey is a highly flammable product since the alcohol in the whiskey is highly flammable. So with this racking solution, you can add fire extinguishers. So with this kind of racking, you can add fire extinguishers in strategic places to prevent fire from happening or from it to spread. So quoting a whiskey project can be quite a tedious work. Can be quite tedious work um, due to adjusting the racking to the warehouse. As you can see on the left, on the right, there is I should say, small to medium project. It's around 4,000 barrels approximately, and a project of this sort often requires quite precise dimensions. When using precise dimensions into the last millimeter, um, that often requires special components, and you can't really um, use the previous articles that you have already sold before. It's often new components that you have to create, special components with special specific lengths, new article numbers, new drawings, and everything has to be done from the beginning again for each product, each component. Uh, this, of course, takes a lot of time. And if you have 20 or 30 special components on each project, you soon realize that this will eat up um, um, the profit of the project in time. And also the delivery time and the production will suffer from this. Um, when producing small batches of specialized components, the production volumes are often low, and setting up the machine to produce these low volumes is very expensive. Also, the delivery time is affected because you have to readjust the machines each time, and so the delivery time often gets very long. So back in the days before we started with CET, there was a lot of manual input. We did calculate each and every component by hand, and that caused, in many cases, a human error where we calculated wrong, um, where we missed a few components, uprights, rail lengths that didn't add up, and something like that. So this has been a quite a struggle to be efficient with calculating whiskey projects. So and also, if we look at the top drawing there, which we can see with the top view, this is quite like shaped as a box. So this is quite easy to calculate, except for removing components for the stairs, the four stairs that you see in the picture. Uh, but often we have racking that is shaped along the slope of the ceiling, and uh, in this case, we have to manually remove some of the components and subtract them from the total amount of articles going in there. So it's quite time consuming, and there's a lot of risk for human error. Um, so it's not very easy to do, and it's directly affects the profit of the project. So we had already been using CT Designer for a couple of years or 3 years um, when we started selling and producing whiskey racking. And at that time, we used it mainly for office furniture, but we also had this pallet racking extension. And we thought that it might be an easy transition into whiskey racking because they look the same. But when we brought this up, we only got whisk rack will never be in CET. And that was mainly because of all of the special components that we needed, and that we often calculated with, because of the precise dimensions that we needed to have. So we started off by doing a kind of a visualization tool, a graphical tool instead. Um, where we didn't have to focus on the correct length or the correct dimensions or loads, for example. So we developed that, and once we saw that this was a great tool for really showing how many barrels we can fit into a warehouse, for example, and we used that as quotation material, we thought that there should be a solution somewhere in here. So we started to look at the project, the product as a whole, and found out that we might need to change how we look at things. So we came up with a modular depth adjustment system where we use standard frames and parts that we already use for the pallet rack, besides different hole patterns. And we also changed all of the special components into standardized components. So we added a lot of different rail lengths. Actually, all of the length sensitive parts of this solution, this product, and we standardized them all to fit the modular depth adjustment. We also defined the beams to be in two different dimensions, and so they are two different dimensions or thickness, and we have 6 lengths depending on which cask you're currently putting in the project. So nowadays we can adjust the depth of the racking into a 50 millimeter with a 50 millimeter increment, which would allow us to adjust the final product into almost every warehouse out there. To do this, we really have to redefine the racking system as a whole, because we have to move from special components into standardized components. We had to change also how the agent worked with these lengths to fit our needs. And with this new solution, we can really cut time, and we can produce more standard lengths, which cuts the production cost, and we can use the same article numbers all over and over again. So to better explain this to you, I will go into CT and show you how it's done or how it works. So here is our whiskey extension, and we can use either templates, or we can add just a single racking row. So that's what I'm going to do. So here in 2D, you can see a rather short row of whiskey racking. And when I pull this connector at the back here, you can see the back aisle, and you can see the frames shaded in gray. And when I pull this connector here, you can see that the frames, they move in the same pattern. So we use 2 standard frames. It's a 1250 millimeter, and we also have the 800 millimeter. And besides that, we have a 1250 monoframe and an 800 monoframe. And if we take a look at this in 3D, it's easier to look at. We have chosen to have very high detail in our whiskey racking. And besides it's looking good, it's also to show each and every one of the components. So you can really go into the drawing and you can see how the solution looked like. So each and every one of the components, it's sitting in the correct place. and also the lengths are correct. So you can use this as a training tool of whiskey racking as well. But if I change this racking here, you can see the frames moving, and they move in the same pattern. So all we have to do is use these 4 different frames. So this is the standard frame, 800. This is a 1250 frame standard. And we also have an 800 and 1250 monoframe. And the monoframe is a standard frame connecting to a back upright, which holds the backstop, which is basically just a rail beam. So this is how it looked like. And we also have a template if you want to draw a bigger system. So obviously this is just a single row. And if we connect a maintenance aisle to that, you can see how that looks like. So this is the aisle that you would go on to gain access to all of the individual casks. So it connects to the back aisle. And if you want to change the height of this one, you can just use these arrows. To adjust the height of the maintenance aisle. And that also changes the height of the back aisle. So since we are using an agent to sell these projects, we wanted to make it even better for them to use. They use a combination of AutoCAD and what we present in CET Designer for them, and the calculations that we make. And we want CET Designer to be their primary tool for making the assembly instructions and the material that goes into the quotation. So we are looking at what's nice to have and what's need to have. And since it's quite time consuming and expensive to develop a solution like this, we really need to focus on the need to have. What gives us most back? Where can we cut the most time? What would save us the most money? And since we're already doing all of this graphically in 3D, what can we get from that? So the first thing that we made was a customized elevation view that shows you the rail lengths, also the L profile lengths. So it's, as you can see here in the picture, it's quite clear. You can also see the distance between the frames. So basically where to mount the frames in the floor. Also the total length, the total depth, which length of beams for each row, and so on. And you can also see in the front elevation view here that you can also see the height of each beam and the total height, and also the back upright, which holds the backstop. So what we want to benefit from this, and what we're going to do, is to customize these elevation views to how they look today, how they do it in AutoCAD. So we really want to cut that time down, because AutoCAD drawings takes a lot of time because there are a lot of lines and a lot of details. And since we already have a high detail in CET Designer, we can utilize that to get the same result as they do from AutoCAD. We also want to use these elevation views and the 2D views to replace the assembly drawings that they make in AutoCAD. which also will make the quotation and the order, once it's finalized to order, the work that you do afterwards, we can use the same drawing to produce those assembly drawings as well. Um, Today we can export the bill of materials, and we have price in CT today, which we use to make the quotation, of course. And we can also export that bill of materials into an Excel file. But since we have an ERP integration, that's the business program that we use in AJ. We have a link between CD Designer and the ERP system. We use an ERP system that's called FNO, which is a Microsoft product. And we built a link in between so we can send the bill of materials directly into FNO, which really helps us to remove that human input and those human errors where you mistype an article number or something like that, or quantity or anything else. We also use it for calculating how many trucks used for transporting the components from our factory to the final destination. Also, we have, I don't know if you're familiar with channels that you can use in within CT. We use channels today to customize the price point for these solutions. So today we don't really use price in CT that our agent can see, because the price nowadays fluctuates so much. So we have to do the calculation in AJ, and therefore we have used channels to remove price from 4 different licenses that our agent uses. So we use channels to customize that as well. One nice to have feature that we added that was highly appreciated actually, was being able to put the logo of the distillery on the casks. And that was actually a very good thing to have, because that personalizes the quotation, and the customer more easily connects or bonds with the work that we do when we present it. So even though CET Designer is a great tool, and we really built a very good extension and solution here, we don't expect all of the projects being able to be covered with the CT Designer. We would still need to do some special things when it comes to special solutions. For example, if we need a staircase in some odd place or something like that, or they have very specific needs, then we still have to do it the old way with AutoCAD and SolidWorks, and combined with CT, of course. So we expect us to be able to cover around 90% with this standard solution whiskey extension tool, and about 10% using special components and manual input. So we're still improving CET and whiskey, and so we have a few projects for this fall of 2023, and probably into the spring of 2024. First of all, since there is a lot of polygons floating around here when adding a few thousand casks onto the drawing. We have been seeing that the LOD has need to be decreased or changed, or yeah, to make the experience when drawing big whiskey racking even better, to make it more streamlined and more fluid. So we're going to change the LOD of the components in the product. Also, today we're using the same upright dimension for all barrels, all heights. So we're going to change and utilize more dimensions. So today we have a P90 that is 90 millimeter wide upright with a 2 millimeter thickness. So we're going to add a few extra dimensions into that mix to be able to better take advantage of the capacity of the uprights and the beams, and to make it even better. We are also changing the bracing pattern to make the frames even more stable when it comes to higher frames and heavier casks. And so using a different bracing pattern at the bottom of each frame once the system gets higher. And that's also a better solution combined with new types of dimensions for the uprights. One thing that we can't do today is adjusting the racking for along the slope of the ceiling, as you can see in the picture at the top. This is done manually today, so we just take a normal racking, a box-shaped racking, and then we remove the components and add the extra components needed manually. So this still takes a lot of time, and we're hoping to be able to do that in CET in a good way. So this is kind of one of the biggest projects this fall, because it will require a lot of logical thinking how it's done the best, and so we don't forget any of the components that needs to be added instead. We're also adding stairs. You can't really add stairs to CET today, and since we sell the extra components and we add them to the quotation, the components to connect a stair to a racking. We're also adding the graphical part of the stairs into CET, and this is also quite a bit of and this is also quite a bit of a challenge, because you can put a stair externally, like you see here in the bottom picture to the right, but you could also put a stair inside the racking, and then we need to decide what needs to be removed, which rail lengths are to be shortened, and so on, so on. So that's also a bit of a challenge. I would say as much as the modifying the rack shape. And finally, we're going to add a legend. We have a legend for pallet tracking today. And a legend, as you probably know, is calculating how many pallets goes into the racking. So we're going to do the same thing with whiskey barrels. When we get the drawings from the agent, it's often listed in the description of the project how many casks or barrels um, that should go into the racking theoretically. So using a legend to calculate that could help us verify that the racking is actually large enough for what they have told or will tell their customer. So to sum everything up, um, we are going from quite an inefficient way to store whiskey barrels, still used at a lot of distilleries today, to a more efficient, more safe way to store whiskey barrels where you can better control the final product. We have a better airflow between the barrels, and the loading and extraction of whiskey casks is uh, safe or safer, which is a win-win situation for everyone. Using CT Designer combined with whiskey racking um, also makes the quotation process even easier. It limits the human factor and really cuts that time um, from a drawing to a quote that we can send over to the agent. And to be able to do that, we have standardized the product and the whiskey racking to save time, both in the production and also when drawing whiskey racking in CET. It makes it easier for both the agent and us as a company to produce such product. And also when we are working with it, it's a lot easier when we have the standardized products that we already have in the system. We have focused a lot on customizing the whisk extension for our agent, and we will keep on doing that to remove some of the labor that is done to each project, where we can utilize the drawing that we have made in CT Designer and get a lot more data and information out of that drawing. So we use the same input um, in the drawing for a lot more information. We can remove the manual input that we used that we add afterwards, such as AutoCAD assembly instructions and so on. And this helps us cut time, save money, and deliver an even better product. Since that was my last slide, I thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me and I will try to answer them as best as I can. Um, you can reach me on email or simply use the QR code to connect with me over LinkedIn. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you learned something and have a nice day.